I'm like, yeah, okay, but I'm doing my best here.
Right, right. So what were you thinking about when you were kind of looking like?
Well, the reason I was looking like that is I had my hand in the air and I was doing foot stuff with it.
Right.
So no, I mean it makes sense. I haven't ever heard of like that joint you guys were talking about, the tower joint.
It's
What was
called the
it?
Subtalar.
talon.
Subtalar.
Talon. Okay,
Talon.
I'd never heard of that, but that's part of your ankle.
It is part of your, yeah, it's part of your
Okay.
ankle. So there's a
Okay.
bone in your ankle called the talon bone.
Okay.
And the
Talon.
bottom part of the talon bone is actually a slip joint.
Okay.
Okay. And it allows the foot to move this way, which is where you're getting that supination and your pronation from.
Okay.
And then up above, it is kind of like the talon joint has a nice square kind of top. And where the tibia and fibia meet, creates a mortise. And inside that mortise is a talon, and that's what gives it its hinge movement.
Got it.
Even though they're so when you put the two of them together, you get both this and this.
Hmm.
And so, matter of fact, that you know they're working together because when you dorsiflex, it pronates and dorsiflexes or moves up. And as you plantar flex or point your toes, it turns in, and now you have,
Pronation.
yeah, you have not
Supination.
pronation, supination.
Supination.
It
Supination.
supinates and moves out. Okay, so try that with your foot. It's actually kind of cool, right? So as I pull my toes back, it moves out, and as I point my toe, as I point my toe, it moves in. The foot actually cups. Cool. Now we gotta try it. All right. So the next joint is going to be the knee joint, and the knee joint, by definition, is going to be a stability joint because technically, all it does is hinge. It doesn't look like it hinges because it's between. And when there's a lot of field folks are asking me about, how do we notice that there is angulation in somebody's when they're skiing, right? And the angulation comes from the lower leg angulation actually comes from not only are you hinging the knee, but you're actually femorally rolling. You're rolling the femur joint that comes from both the to mobility joint of your hip and the mobility joint that from your ankle. And it actually then allows you to move your knee this way and it turns inwards. And that's where you see that angulation come from. Because a knee actually doesn't move sideways much. It doesn't move like this. This is bad. But what it does is move like this and then turns. And then we see this angle. Okay? So we have to be really, really careful when we start talking about angulating or moving your knee inwards because it actually is femoral roll. And actually, femoral roll and dorsiflexion allow us to edge our skis, moves our pressure to the inside of our feet. I know, that's a lot. And then for those again, who are in yoga, know all about the next stability joint, which is our lumbar region. Again, that region, this region right here, that's between our pelvis and our upper body underneath the rib cage here. We just don't want to mess with that too much. A lot of big muscles, layers and layers of core are there to hold our bodies together and to keep that part of our body not moving that much. And there's a lot of, we got lots of video of women because women are particularly susceptible to lumbar region mobility where they kind of hike up hips or they try to angulate with their hips using their lumbar region instead of actually doing it with their, with the joint at the hip bone between the leg. They actually try to bend They try to bend the lumbar region. I've got video after video of these. Trust me, we'll probably
That I would be really interested in what you just said.
Oh yeah, I've got it.
Because,
Oh, I got lots of shots here too.
yeah, I won't interrupt, but yeah, I'd be interested in learning more about that.
Yeah, and it makes a mortise joint. It's like I said, it allows us to hinge it. There is a little bit of mobility in there too, because there's a little bit of this kind of going on, but it really is technically mostly a hinge joint. The slip joint's underneath. Subtalar joint. That's the one I was looking for. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, we're not going to go into the talocognial joint. That's too much. I always like the subtalar joint, but it's a really, really good one. All right, so we have the lumbar region. Again, those of us who do squats, I mean, it's very, very important. And same thing in skiing. We should be rotating our pelvises underneath us, right? We shouldn't have a lot of posterior tilt. We should have anterior tilt, which will moves our hips underneath us and puts us in a strong position, aligns that lumbar region underneath forces that we're going to be experiencing. Whenever again, this is something that we see a lot from women. There's a lot of usually posterior tilt where the hips tend to go this direction. It's kind of that sticking out the butt syndrome. And again, that puts your lumbar region in a kind of very compromised position. The next part is the thoracic spine. Thoracic spine is very mobility related. It allows us to do all of this, move all around like this. Very, very interesting, very, very good joint for us. Again, we see a lot of this. You know, I've been working last year. One part of what I was concentrating on was figuring out ways that I could create pinch between my hips and align myself more over the outside skis, and then how that really allows my ski to grip better, way better when I do that little tilt, just a little pinch in that hip. But that comes from the thoracic spine, okay? Allows me to kind of pinch it in, all right? The one that's not really shown here is a scapulothoracic area, which again is that shoulder, kind of right in between the shoulders. That area does not move very much. It's not a very good spot for us to move. That's, a lot of injuries come from, I don't know, a lot of friends of mine do this stupid MMA thing, and they always end up dropping a shoulder or something like that because, the shoulder joint's a crap joint, and that's all part of that. You kind of get in these positions where they can't really move that scapulothoracic area between the shoulders very much. So what happens, it collapses the shoulder. Then the shoulders are definitely a mobility. We know that because we can move it all over the place. It's got a tremendous range of motion. And then that's just on the outside of that stability joint, that scapulothoracic area. And then the last one is a cervical spine, which is on top of that, on top of our shoulders. And again, allows us to move our necks around a lot. Any questions or any eureka moments or anything that anybody understands that wants to comment on?
Is the cervical spine mobility or stability?
Cervical spine is actually a mobility.
Mobility, okay.
It's a mobility. The only problem with the drawing they have here is there's actually this area right here between the neck in the shoulder area. That is a stability joint. The shoulders are a stability piece. The outside shoulder where your arms connect, those are mobility joints.
But this part.
But the spine part there, that's all stability.
Okay.
Which allows us to move our neck and allows us to move our shoulders. Okay? And whenever you see shoulder tilt like this, I'm not really moving that cervical thoracic area between the shoulders. I'm doing that below in the rib cage area. Because the thoracic is very, very, that allows you to move a lot.
One of the things, can I move to hips? Can I mention that? So hip socket and anatomy of the bone is different for people. And this is one of the things I'm trying to investigate and how it relates to skiing. Because if you're torqued, if your hip socket is torqued straight or if it's out, you may or may not have a range of motion, this way with the leg rotation.
Right.
So I'm almost really affirming because I have hip sockets that are open, so my femur has this range of motion where I appear to be more flexible, but I just have a different range of motion than some people whose torque configuration of that socket is not like outward. It's more inward, and one can be different than the other. That's the other thing. Like people can have different bone structure and anatomically with their hips. One's higher than the other or lower than the other or torqued down or torqued up. And that to me, there's got to be a relationship with how people move and how you're able to move on skis. But maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. I just feel like
Hmm.
if bone structure is different, then that's going to affect everything else, right?
Well, we do know that we have the hip is a very interesting joint.
Yeah,
And
it
it
is.
sounds like you're writing a thesis.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
asking a question we'd all like to know more answers to.
yeah, I would. I would like to know about it. And
So I'm not going to give away too much, but we have the pelvis. Pelvis is really cool because there's lots of things that are going. We have the sacrum, which is this kind of heart-shaped area, which is actually the lower lumbar. It attaches the lumbar, and then you have the two. Oh my God, what is wrong with me tonight? I can't remember their names all of a sudden. You have the two bell-shaped areas, which is where all the muscles actually attach, which is why we have these hip bones because we have these major muscles that are all in our legs, and we have these major muscles that are up in our upper body here. All the core muscles attached to this whole area. And we have these two bell-shaped. I can't zoom in any closer. But on the outside of every hip, I'm sorry, outside of every one of these
acetabulum.
leg bones
Yeah.
of the femurs, we have these big bell-shaped areas here too.
Where the
Again,
ilium and
yeah,
yeah.
the iliums.
Ilium, the
This is
ischium,
the
and the
ilium. This is the
pubis.
iliums here. Thank you. This is the iliums here. These are something I can't remember. I think this is going to be your assignment.
Are you talking about the trochanter head?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yes. And again,
Yes.
that bell-shaped piece, that trochanter head, is there because all the muscles and the tendons attached to that, right? Especially our legs, our big legs and thigh muscles, all attached to that area right there.
Yeah.
And it's a really, really important area, which they have great big giant surface areas which attach all these muscles to allow us to really stabilize this whole area. That's why this whole area is really the iliacs and the sacrum and all the lumbar here is really considered one big giant stable area. And how do I know this? Because where everybody called you got the sacroiliac joint right there. Anybody know what that is?
Mhm.
You want to know what my favorite thing in the whole world is? When I slip that joint on my right side.
Mm.
And then all of a sudden, I have a hell of a time walking. Like I did it 2 weeks ago, and I hadn't done it in a year, and I was like, I forgot how bad it gets, because now all those muscles that are supporting you, that joint is really, really important. And when you slip that joint, what do all the muscles do? They try to save you.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's horrible.
Spasm. Yeah.
Yeah, they spasm. They really, they try to save you. And all of a sudden, I've got the extreme pelvic. I'm not doing posture. It's really anterior because I have to support that whole hip area because now it's like it's in trouble. So
Yeah.
this is when you have a joint slippage in this area, bad things happen because that's all stability, and it really depends on all that whole chain to really work together. And when you have trouble there, like I had, everything is, it's no fun. It's just really a drag. You know, it's hard to get out of bed. It's hard to sit in a chair. It's hard to walk. The only thing that really works is walking and riding. I have to walk a lot or ride and try to open up that area, and then take a tennis ball and actually put it underneath that hip joint and force that iliac to kind of flex open again, because it gets all pulled inwards. Everything pulls inwards this way, and you have to pull it back out again and kind of help it relax so that it's back in a posture again. And then at some point in time, I'll suddenly feel it pop, and oh, it's all gone now, finally. For this time, it only took about 7 days. You know, and lots of yoga, right? A ton of yoga. And even that's like, you know, as I get older, it's still getting more difficult. But this, like I said, this whole area here is really, really important as a body support. You know, if something happens in this area, it's really hard to move. It's really, really hard to move.
I think one of the things that we don't maybe don't think about too much as we get older is naturally with the wearing down of cartilage, there's arthritis that develops in these joints also.
Yeah,
Limits
that's my fear,
mobility.
because I don't want any, you know, that joint's not very big. It's like right in here,
Mhm.
right? And it feels like it's in your back. It feels like
Mhm.
it's right in your lumbar, and you feel like all I gotta do is just twist it, it's gonna pop. But no, it just doesn't work. It feels terrible. And then after a while, you kind of, yeah, I know when it happens. I just know symptoms now. But yeah, I'm afraid of arthritis in that area, because that whole joint, even though it's not, you know, this all should be like one piece. It's there for flexibility standpoint. Only moves about 3%, but when it moves, man, it is no bueno.
Mhm.
Very, very bad, because now
A
it's
lo-
hard to stand on anything.
a lot of people there will have some sacroiliitis too, in that the inflammation in that area, arthritis. There's a
Yeah.
lot of times people will feel pain in their low back, but it's really coming from their hip.
Yep.
So,
Know all about it.
I have
Feels like it's up in here.
I have what's called spondylolisthesis, and about 15% of the population have it. It's when one of
yeah,
the lower discs is out a certain degree, it's
Right.
permanent. You can't change it. So it's a constant pain that you have. So
yeah.
yeah. So
That kind of mobility, about 2 or 3% of the population also has scoliosis. And when you're talking about pelvic tilt or lift, I mean, people in making turns skiing, that can affect how they actually compensate to make turns. So anyway, I don't want to.
Yeah, yeah.
no,
So
I'd like to hear more about that, David.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm a psychiatrist these days. Many years ago, as an emergency room doctor, but you're taking me way back and things I need to brush up on myself.
Oh, we're gonna. Sounds like you need an assignment too.
Yeah, sounds like a teaching opportunity, right? In
Yeah,
this corporate.
exactly. You know, when we got all this knowledge, we might as well take advantage of it. So anyway, the last little piece I want to kind of note about all this is, I like to think as a mobility joints as two, you know, like you have two, like a rubber band, right? And you pull the rubber band, but it allows you to kind of thrum the rubber band. The rubber band can move like up and down, but you have these two pieces on the end. And as soon as you let one go, all of a sudden that doesn't work anymore. So I think of like the knee and the hip as a, and then I'm sorry, the knee and the pelvis as a way of like having two stable areas, which allows the hip to move. And the same way with down here. And I think of the opposite too. I really think of it as like, so I got the hip that can move a lot, I got the ankle that moves a lot, which allows the knee to be very stable. So they think about all these things in this whole kinetics chain, which is really important. So like I said, when I slip that little iliac in there and lose stability in my stability joint, yeah. And I know it all came from the fact that I had knee surgery on my right knee.
Mm,
You know what I mean? It's a compensation movement.
mhm.
All right, last little piece. I'm just adding this in because I thought this was interesting. Ran across it when I was kind of redoing basic research on this again. We have some fundamental patterns. Again, this comes from exercise science. This is um, not gospel according to PSIA, but these are the major movements, fundamental movement patterns, and these are long chain movements. These are not specialized. Most of the one guys, I do everything I do, and when I exercise, and I do lunges and I do squats and I do long chain exercises, right? I think it's really, really important to do movement exercises or exercises that allow you to move. So I'm not real big fan of like, hey, I'm going to focus on biceps today. I'm not going to focus on triceps today. I want to do movements that are going to make me sweat like crazy. And at the same time, but I need to strengthen the whole chain. I don't want to be strengthening just one little area. And these are the 7. So it's hinge, gait, which is walking or running, squat, pull, push, lunge, and twist. And the one thing I didn't do is I didn't print this out as a PDF so I could throw it into the chat. Anybody got any questions? This is just so overwhelmingly awesome that it's, no problem. Which I know is a lie. So we're moving on to our video victim today. Since I think Laura knows this person.
Laura's fading. I'm doing my best.
What is the matter with you? It's 6:45 your time.
Oh, I've had a lot going on.
Oh, please. Por favor. All right, so let's go to. All right. I don't even know who this is, but I grabbed this off of Kate's channel.
Well, the next one is Diego, and the one after that is Saskia.
I saw the first one I clicked on was Saskia, and I go, oh, this one looks interesting. And then I go, oh, no, I know that person.
Yep. But
I can't do that.
I'm not sure if I know the first one
That's good.
because I didn't
Perfect.
recognize the initials.
Perfect. So one of the folks last week or 2 weeks ago asked about, hey, can we do more bump analysis?
That was me.
That was you? Cool.
Yes.
So what's the first thing that you think about when you think about bumps? How does it change? How does everything change when we're doing bumps? And this is a short answer, right?
Well, the snow's not flat.
Yeah. So how does that change what they're doing?
It changes well, doesn't that change magnitude of pressure a lot? It
changes the magnitude of pressure, but magnitude, I want you to start thinking about the magnitude of pressure as not something that we do, but things that happen.
Right. So it changes what's happening to our skis.
Yes and no. Okay. We have the ability to change the magnitude of pressure, but we change all the other things to make that happen, right?
Okay.
Matter of fact, I have like a little thing here that might help you out. Because you probably didn't see this. Where'd it go? So magnitude of pressure is a result of other things, right? I can't find it. Of course I can't find it. Had no problem finding it before. Now I can't find it at all. Presentation. So handle magnitude of pressure. You know, it'd be nice if I put these things in one spot where I could find them again. So I want you to think about magnitude like it's like there's sorry about that. So think of it like a stereo system, Laura.
Okay.
Okay. And we have 4 dials. And each of those dials is one of them is for fore aft pressure. Another one is ski to ski pressure. And the third one is edging. And the fourth one is rotation. Okay. And we have each one of these has like little dials. Okay. And the point is that magnitude of pressure is, pressure A is something that we feel, or forces that are working that we feel, right? We feel pressure when something's pushing against us. It's our response to what is happening, right? It's feedback. So the dial that we're looking at on our little stereo system, it's got like a little needle that moves back and forth, right? Changes how much, the more pressure we feel is dependent on those 4 dials. And we can smooth out how much edging, how much rotation that we do, and how much fore aft pressure and how much ski to ski pressure we have. That's going to help us smooth out our magnitude. Does that make sense? Yeah. So magnitude in and of it, that's why it's difficult for us to start talking about magnitude, because it's not something that we affect directly. It's something that we affect indirectly. We use the other 4 fundamentals, A plus B plus C plus D equals magnitude of pressure. Okay? All the other fundamentals affect that needle of how much pressure that we feel. So yes, there is more apparent magnitude or more apparent pressure that you see in the bumps, because we have to react to terrain. The terrain creates that situation, okay? But how we affect that magnitude doesn't change from being on piste, okay? Being on smooth snow. What happens is we try to take we do on smooth snow and try to apply it to bumps, and all of a sudden things go badly because we're not making those changes that are necessary in order for us to smooth out the pressure. And this is like the perfect example, right? We have lots of pressure. Bam, pressure, right? And it's really comes down to how he affects his balance with all that pressure. And honestly, I don't know who this is. So now, with that in mind, Laura, how do you, when you look at people that are in bumps, how does it change? How do you change the way you think?
Um,
Knowing that we see the pressure, right? It's very, very visible. We see all that pressure now. But we can take that piece and we can move it over here. Okay, we know that's going to be happening. There are going to be times where, he's going to feel pressure and it's going to be evident. There are going to be times where he's going to have a float phase, right? Where he's not feeling very much pressure at all.
so it seems like in bumps, we just have to be a lot more mobile, in that we need to be adjusting our fore aft pressure a lot more, adjusting our ski to ski pressure a lot more.
Yeah.
So if it works okay to be sort of stiff on our skis, if we're on a nice groomed easy blue, it doesn't work at all to be stiff on our skis in this stuff.
Exactly. Even though we get away with, let's put it a different way. We get away with the fact that we don't have to be soft and elastic and have feel on the smooth snow because
Right.
things aren't going to happen as quickly to us, right? Doesn't
Right.
mean we shouldn't.
Right.
The more accurate we get, the more forces that we apply to our skiing, the faster we go, the more kind of different kind of outcome we're looking for. As I like to say, the faster I go, the more turn I want to make. Right. And maybe I'm looking for deflection today. I want to have a lot of deflection, which means I want to put the ski on edge very early. I want it coming back at me fast. Right. That's not any different than bumps. The bumps are more this way, and that is more this way. Right. So we're just changing the angle of attack a little bit. Bumps are going to be more like this. But the terrain's telling you what to do now.
So Michael Rogan, I don't
Yeah.
know, you guys have probably heard this. Michael Rogan says it's not that you can't ski bumps. It's that you can't ski and bumps are showing you that.
Mm.
And he's 100% right.
100%. And that's it, right? Oh, I finally found it. Here we go. All right. So here is my little, whoops. Here is my little graphic that I used, right?
Mhm.
Right? So here's fore aft, ski to ski, edging and rotation, right? Those are your four fundamentals that change this total pressure thing. And then, of course, there's other things like the terrain. Obviously, bumps are going to affect it, the slope, how steep it is, and then how fast you're going. So these are all things that are playing into this equation that's giving us a magnitude of pressure. Okay? But we cannot affect magnitude of pressure by going, hey, I just need to have less magnitude of pressure.
Right.
We have to do that through these other items. We need to slow down. We need to go to less steeper slope. We need smoother bumps. We need to affect our fore aft, our ski to ski, our edging and rotation, right? So I look at it as a sum of all the parts. We can always talk about it as much as we want. But when we started talking about affecting change, it has to happen through these other areas. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Mhm.
I see she's like, the wheels are processing here.
Laura, if you get a chance, take a look at any video. For example, it's easy to find the team tryout for Troy Walsh. Troy's on the national team.
Okay.
Take a look at his run through the bumps. And in particular, watch his edge angles.
Okay.
That's all I'll
Honestly,
say. Watch his edge angles. He is, if you've ever skied with Troy, he has got to be one of the best. Obviously, he's on the national team, but he's a phenomenal bump skier. It's like he's dancing through the bumps. But watch his edge angles.
and honestly, this is one of the good things about this guy is that he doesn't have a tremendous amount of edge angles, which makes him semi-successful.
Hmm.
Semi being a relative term, right?
Right.
Because if he had a lot of edge angles, what would that
He'd
make
go,
him do in the
he'd go
bumps?
shooting across.
He
Mhm.
would go shooting across, and it's like that's my favorite Jim Shaw saying is nobody stood at the top of a bump run and said, "Gee, I want to go faster," right? And lots of edging in the bumps will make you go faster,
Mhm.
right? So that's the one thing he's good at, right? So when I'm looking at this guy here, I first of all I'm looking at his fore aft pressure, right?
Mhm.
Right.
That's the one area I think he really struggles with,
Yep.
right? Because he never moves along the platform, right?
Mhm.
He tries to get the tips down, but it's in a weird kind of matter of fact way. It's more like he's trying to catch himself. At the initiation, it's very evident. He's kind of back, right? He's very back. So when he gets to this little area, oops, got to go back a little bit. So when he gets to this little area here, that's not what I would consider a very balanced opportunity to make a turn. You know, granted, he just came down this bump here, right? And he wasn't balanced when he got in the bump because he wasn't far enough forward to allow his tips to get down. So when the tips come back at him, he suddenly is like, oh my God, oh my God. The skis are coming back at me. You know, what do I got to do? I'm going to sit back. And then the tips go up, and he's like, oh shit, now I got to make a turn. So there's now a big twist, right? And then it's like, oh, now he's completely airborne, right? And he's still not forward, and he's reaching, and he's praying that I'll get some kind of purchase as soon as possible. Look at the bend in that left ski. My
Wow.
God, holy moly. Surprised he didn't break that thing, right? But he's finally forward enough that he was able to catch himself. Okay. So I'm looking at this particular skier. I'd like to see him be more active, pulling his feet back underneath him at the end of every turn.
Actually, that was something when I was trying to do MA, that was a few weeks ago in this group.
Mhm.
And I was saying, well, if he has to get aft, he's got to bend his shins forward. And you guys were like, no, he has to actually pull his feet back from under him. That needs to be that more of an extreme move.
Well, look at him. Let's go back just a couple frames here. He needs to get his shins more forward. How is he going to do that?
Bring his
From
feet
this
underneath
position.
him. Bring his feet underneath him.
He's got to get the base of support back underneath his seat,
Back underneath him. Okay.
right? So even though, yes, I agree, he needs to bend he needs to have more articulation in his ankles so that he can allow himself to get the knees more forward, blah, blah, blah. But in this position, not going to matter.
Right. That's
He's
not
got to get
enough.
the
It's got to
feet
be more
underneath him
extreme.
first. Yeah.
Okay.
He's got to be balanced over his skis. And then he's finally, that's actually a balanced position. See, the feet's almost underneath the seat. He's actually looking forward. Problem is, he's just tremendously square now. And he's getting ready to make a turn, so the only way he can make a turn is there's the big twist.
And he's lifting, isn't he having to lift his inside ski a lot?
Well, we could talk about inside ski issues too. I mean, I think it all stems from the same thing, though,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, he lands on his inside ski almost on every turn, like right there,
Right.
right, and right here. Watch. Oh, there it is, standing on an inside ski. He's aligned over the inside ski. The outside, why the outside ski's moving away from his body, right? And he gets into here, and it's like, oh boy, this is like catastrophe here. There's lots of things, but he's landed on his inside skis because look at how much the ski is bending, right? Then he finally gets enough purchase on the outside ski. But look at this. What is this? Is this how you want to start a turn? And I'm being super critical, right? I shouldn't be this critical. But this is
Is that what you call a jet turn?
this is this is like you have no opportunity to turn your legs here. You've sold out the upper body movement, which is why he's throwing a blocking pole plan in there. Because he's not. Nah, look at that. Help me, please.
Look how
Turn
long
me.
his poles are too.
Well, the poles are there too, but I mean, if you
There's a lot of other stuff
his
going
body's
on,
already way down the hill, right? So it makes that apparent pole size bigger. So the fore aft issues to me that's to me is the one thing that's really, really important, because the fact that he's in this position now, and the only way he can turn is through a lot of rotation. He can't do anything else. He's now in a compromised position, which is why we see a lot of this twist.
So that would be good, because if it was a level 2 MA, let's say, then we'd do fore aft and rotary, and those two things are going together really well here.
Yeah. One
Because
begets the other.
You're
right?
saying he's having to rotate with a huge upper body twist because he doesn't have enough pressure on the whole front of his skis. He's not even on the snow half the time to
Not
do
even on the
any
snow.
turning that way.
And he's not even balanced, right?
Right.
He's not balanced. He's back, which means now his thighs engaged, trying to hold his body up so he doesn't die. And now he's thinking, well, I gotta go from here to here, and I gotta make a 90-degree turn from here to here. Does that make sense? So now he's got to do something, which is where, whoop, well, this was a little less so on this side. And this is actually pretty good right here. But I don't know about that arm. At least he's tipping his lower legs. But the tipping is coming from a baffed position again, because he's let his tips get away from him. So fore aft. Slow dog noodles. And granted, I know this bump run really, really well. I think this is one of the worst bump runs in the world. You know, these are the jibber jabber bumps right off
Yeah,
of
these are
Jabberwocky.
Jabber Rabbit, aren't they?
Yeah, you'd think they're easy, and they're not. They suck. I think they're horrible. They get dug out, right? And these look like they're troublemakers right now.
They're really big for Jabber Rabbit. Yeah.
Yeah, they're really, really big. So I'm gonna grant him a little bit of I'm gonna grant him a little bit of leeway here, a little bit of leash, but yeah, we gotta learn how to move underneath. We gotta get the feet moving underneath us. We gotta get those under control so it's not constantly trying to catch himself.
Wouldn't you just, I mean, basically you'd pull this guy out of moguls to begin with.
Oh yeah, we need to talk about fundamentally how you're trying to do what you're doing in the moguls. For me, I would be preaching, we need to be in a balanced position at the top of a turn, and we need to be in a balanced position at the bottom of the turn. And balanced means I could lift up the inside leg at any point in time, which means I have to have my feet underneath my seat in a way that I can move. So when he gets back in these bumps, he is more, when he is ready to turn, he should be more balanced here. But this is just a series of recoveries.
Mm-hmm.
And he never really recovers. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it'll be more than just hinging at the waist.
Right.
This is a misunderstanding of how it works. I know this is Kate, who's probably, I don't know what she was coaching him on, so I can't really tell you. But this is, to me, is a misunderstanding of how we do bumps.
When these guys were skiing fast, I feel like Jonathan, I could hear his voice too. I feel like what they were saying was softer knees, don't crack the eggs.
Oh yeah, softer. I think he's doing the task. I think it's the wrong task. Right? I mean, that's the one, like I said, that's the one thing I think he's doing well, is he's not applying a lot of edging. He's trying to be delicate with his edges.
Oh, I thought when she said softer, that didn't mean edging. I thought that meant more bend in your knees.
Yeah, but we just said that if we bend our knees more, what's that going to make him do more?
Get farther back, right?
It's going to make him back more,
Yeah.
right? We got to think about balance. And I don't know what Kate was working on with, so I can't really comment about Kate. I respect Kate a lot.
Yeah.
We should take a look at that link that AJ posted in the chat. I just took a look at it. It just has the national team members one after the other running down. It's a really cool like compilation of different approaches people have on the bumps.
Cool. Here's Troy.
And it's well, I don't know which one is Troy, but there's a bunch of people trying
Oh
out.
yeah. This is a long one. There actually,
Yeah,
I think
but
they
it's
had
actually
them.
pretty cool to watch, actually.
I think they actually had them like in this one. I think they
This is
had them
2021
actually.
or something.
I mean, yeah, and this is a tough run, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What run is this?
This is what the hell is this one?
Is that outhouse?
No,
No,
it said it was Breckenridge.
it's
Oh.
Breckenridge. I think it's like mine shaft,
Mm-hmm.
except this looks wider than mine shaft. I don't know. Breckenridge is not well known for its bumps.
It says yeah, it said Breckenridge though.
Yeah, so this was a few years ago, but notice how balanced these guys are when they're entering and exiting turns.
Yeah, their tips are much more on the snow. I mean,
All
you
the
can see
time.
their tips are driving down those bumps.
I mean, even right here, he's balanced, right? He stays balanced. Stays in a balanced position. And we could sit here and tear these guys apart, right? Compared to the last guy, this is not as good as skiing, right?
No.
Right? Because it's for the same reasons. Because he doesn't get the tips down as quickly, which doesn't means he doesn't get as much friction at the top of the turn, which increases his magnitude of pressure at the end of the turns.
So I would have said that guy was steering from his tails, not his tips, and so that
Yes.
is the same
Yeah.
because his turns didn't look as round.
And this is more of the same, isn't it? I see the tails moving a lot more than the tips.
Mm.
And his tips come up a little bit more. I feel really dumb criticizing this guy because the video I got of me at Copper on bumps, I don't look quite this good. I
Here's
thought I
Troy.
looked amazing. I thought I was killing it, but then when I actually looked at it, not so much.
I mean, this is a good video because look at how Troy. I mean, he's guiding his
Oh,
skis,
okay. So
right?
this is the
The
guy to
skis are
watch.
going where he wants them to go. This is very, very good skiing, and he's balanced the whole time. Matter of fact, he makes this almost look ridiculously easy. Let's go back and watch him again.
Yeah,
'Cause
let's watch
that
him
was
again.
that was really nice skiing. And he gets his tips down, which allows him to guide, which allows him to have friction early in the turn, which allows him to control his speed.
Mhm. Mm.
He's also picking a nice line.
Well, he's taking my
Yeah.
favorite line, which is the blue
Yeah.
line. He's getting rid of all the nasty bumps.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah. I
When you go
encourage
trail.
people in all of their exams, take the blue line. This is really nice skiing too. Oop, got a little bump there, but that's all right.
Oop.
Those are called mistakes. Oh, that's
Mhm.
good skiing. Yeah, some of these guys know what they're doing, right?
Well, this is
Well, it is
trying out
national
for the
team tryouts, right?
right.
I wouldn't mind doing having the group do an MA on the bump video I sent you, Gumby. Remember?
Oh, which one did you send? Did you send it
The
today?
The one from Winter Park. When I was skiing Winter Park, I was skiing, I think is it called Centennial or I can't remember. Columbine.
Columbine. Oh, God.
Columbine. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah, I
yeah.
like that trail.
Nobody, that's the one run I refuse to go down.
I don't do
I
that.
like
I
this.
don't do that run. There's always rocks.
Rocks and
There were
ice.
no rocks when I was there.
Rocks, ice, garbage. It always
Yeah.
all the bumps get undercut.
We just big bump. They were big bumps. I
They
remember that.
come back
We got
at
plenty
you.
of big
Yeah.
bumps at Winter Park that are much nicer than Columbine's.
Now, the trees on the left or the trees on the right are amazing.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Oh my God. I think I probably did that 24 times this year with kids.
Oh,
Mm.
Taking them through the Columbine bumps on the left or the right in the trees because they're round and they're fun and they're fun.
Mm.
But Columbine itself underneath the lift is
Mm.
garbage. Never.
Mhm.
Horrible. Hate it.
It was good when I was there.
well, we'll look at it.
Yeah, I had a lot of mistakes.
I
Trying
gotta
to
remember if
myself.
I gotta remember where I had you.
Oh, you don't have to show it now.
um,
It was like a year ago.
oh,
March.
was it?
Yeah. That's when I was at Winter Park, was March of 2024.
But this is a lot different than this, isn't it? No, not this one. This one. A lot different than this, right?
Oh my goodness.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
So the key moral of the story is I want you to look at magnitude of pressure as an effect. It's the symptom, not the cause. And then we look at the other four fundamentals as the cause.
Okay.
So wait, wouldn't it be that not regulating the magnitude of pressure well is the symptom
How do we regulate the magnitude of pressure?
through all the other through the other four fundamentals?
Exactly.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And they always say, well, flexion and extension. Well, flexion extension is both fore aft and ski to ski, right?
Mhm.
All of those things happen at the same time. That is like half the equation. But the first line in the technical manual says to directly regulate the magnitude of pressure. The magnitude of pressure is most directly regulated through edging and rotational movements. Edging and rotation have the most effect on regulating the magnitude of pressure. I know the technical manual is always right. It's so irritating.
So going back to thinking about Troy, when I saw that, the first thing I noticed was how really like comfortably and progressively springy he was.
Mm-hmm.
There were no jolts. It was so like just up and down.
Yeah, I mean, this guy here is like, he's actually zipper lining some of those, but he still doesn't even look like he's working that hard, right? This guy doesn't look like he's working that hard. And these bumps are mean as hell.
His legs are moving up and down a lot, but his upper body is not moving
No.
much.
Welcome to the American way now, right? The US system has definitely gone into, we definitely don't need to be using our upper body. Up and down movements are not as important anymore. We want to make sure that we're as stable as humanly possible. This guy looks like he's working, right?
Mhm. More so, yeah.
Still great skiing.
Are all these guys are they the alpine trainer level or then
These guys are all, this is national team tryouts.
So what does that
From
mean
what?
they are?
From 5 years ago, 4 years ago, this is national team tryouts.
So what does that mean they already are? They're already trainers?
They're usually already trainers because the tryouts are actually a three-part phase again. You're never going to get away from this. There is an MA Tech.
Mm-hmm.
There is a teach, and the teach is definitely not necessarily on the snow. It might be a presentation,
Hmm.
and like an in-house presentation. And then there's the ski portion. And you're selected on all three of those.
So this is a dumb question, but I don't know. When they say national team, does that mean the examiners or is that a whole separate thing?
It's usually anybody who's a level 3 can apply to become a national team member.
Okay.
But it's usually people that are in the RMT process, people who are in, our ed staff through various other
Hmm.
locations throughout the
Okay.
country.
Hmm.
Is it, so is a trainer and an examiner aren't the same thing?
Trainer and examiners are not the same thing, no.
Okay.
So for RMT process, actually, you can get on RMT level, that makes you a trainer. And then you can apply to become ad staff.
Okay.
And then after you make ad staff, that means you can go out and train other folks. Like you go out and do all the, hey, we're gonna go do tip it and rip it today, and you're gonna go train tip it and rip it.
Right.
And then from there, you can work to become an E1 examiner, which means you get to go out and again, same thing. It's all teach an MA Tech and a ski,
Mhm.
and they'll select you to become an examiner for level 1s. Then you can work your way up from there.
Right. Okay.
There's also usually a reverse audit system, so you'll go out with an examiner in an exam situation, and then you'll reverse audit, which means you'll be telling everybody why they made the selections they made.
Hmm. Did Jenny just become an examiner?
Jenny Lively?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think
I
she was
don't.
going for that just this past month.
Was she?
Yeah, I believe
Okay.
so.
Did she make ed staff?
Uh,
I know she made children's examiner.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, she made children's examiner. All right, folks. I'm tired.
You know I am. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
No problem.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks,
it.
Chuck.
All right. Yeah, let me know if you guys got anything out of this tonight. Thank you for
Yeah.
coming, and it's going to be after Memorial Day.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Like, probably the second full weekend of June,
Okay.
but I have to avoid Father's Day.
Hmm.
We got a series of holidays coming up. We got Memorial Day, and then we got 4th of July, and we got, random August ones too. But I'm going to come up with some things that we're going to be doing, and I know Mike is going to do that too. I'm going to try to get some guests in too also this summer.
Hmm.
Awesome.
So, stay tuned. All right.
Okay.
Thank you
All
and good
right.
night.
Thank you.
Good. Good
Okay.
night. Thank you. Good
Uh-huh.
luck with your son's